Hello folks, welcome to this week's news video. Loads of really good stuff coming up in this week's video. Before we get onto it, I want you to do me two favours. One is at the end of this video, I'm going to put a link to last week's one. It's the worst supported one I've ever had. It's also the first one I've had with a sponsor on it. And having sponsors really will make the difference between me continuing to do this and not. So I really need you to go and watch that one. Please do that. It's going to take you 2 minutes at the end of this to go onto that one. I will put a link up there and in the video description. Secondly, please subscribe. Still only like 20% of you are actually subscribed. So please do that. Thank you. Let's get on. So in this week's video, all the stories that are coming from Autocar, Auto Express and Top Gear. First one here is on UK fuel prices should be at 171p per litre, the RAC claims. Big Four supermarkets blamed for not dropping forecourt prices despite falling costs of wholesale fuel. Supermarkets are not passing savings from cheaper wholesale fuel onto customers, the RAC claims, adding that petrol prices should be nearer to 171p per litre. Yesterday, UK petrol and diesel pump prices began to fall for the first time in months, having soared well beyond record levels. Currently, average prices at forecourt sit at 186.87 per litre for petrol and 195.91 for diesel. At the beginning of July, that was 191 and 199. But Simon Williams, the RAC's fuel expert, told Autocar that average prices should be around 171p for petrol and 189p for diesel, in line with the falling price of wholesale fuel, which has been dropping for the past 7 weeks. Williams blames the big four supermarkets, Asda, Morrisons, Tesco and Sainsbury's for not dropping their prices. Forecourts normally sell fuel for 4p less than the national average, which helps drive down prices elsewhere. For some reason, they refuse to give drivers a fair price, he said. They should have been passing on wholesale fuel price reductions on a daily basis for the last 7 weeks, but they haven't. RAC is saying that in the next few weeks the price could come down by about another 2p a litre, but the AA, who they always seem to be at logheads, don't they, the AA and the RAC, but the AA have said that they expect savings of about £10 on a fill-up over the next 2 weeks. So we'll have to see what happens. So over to the Devon Live website, and my father-in-law actually told me about this yesterday, so thanks, Mel. So Trago Mills, which is just on the outskirts of Newton Abbot in Devon, it's a crazy place if you've ever been there. You can buy just about anything from some fake grass to a bag of sweets to a pair of shoes. It's really quite a nutty place. Their boss, Bruce Robertson, explains how his fuel is 25p a litre less than average. They had half-mile queues there for the petrol station as they cut prices to 164.9 a litre. Boss of Trago said, "We're just doing what's right for our customers. The wholesale prices of road spirits, whether petrol or diesel, has been falling rapidly since last Tuesday, which trickled through to retailers fairly quickly. But everyone just sat on it. We don't play games. If a few more retailers followed suit, price at the pump would come down. We work on a pretty static margin. If import prices come down, we pass that straight on to Trago customers. The whole issue of fuel costs is at crisis point, and the government's been very, very slow to respond." So very well done to Trago Mills for actually trying not to rip people off with their petrol prices. Sorry folks, don't know if I've got a cold or if it's just still the old hay fever, but I'm adenoidal. Repair insurance under scrutiny for underhand tactics. Some car dealers are being accused of underhand tactics to sell extra policies. Ooh, what a shocker. Concerns are growing over the way that repair insurance, which covers damage to a car's tyres, alloy wheels, bodywork and interior, is being sold. Sale of insurance is regulated by the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, which requires companies to design their products to offer fair value and clearly explain them to the customer before making a sale. However, reports suggest that the way repair insurance policies are sold by some dealers goes against these regulations. One sales tactic that worries the industry heads is to make a customer sit through a long sales process on the grounds that it's required by the FCA. In fact, FCA rules don't allow this. Another is to add such policies to a vehicle selling price without first consulting the consumer, who must then explain why they don't want them. This is a clear breach of FCA rules. Okay, so if you guys remember a while ago, I had a BMW 4 Series that I got from Stratstones in Hull. To be fair, their customer service experience was pretty naff, apart from the first person I dealt with there. So they did exactly this. I had to sit through basically a sales pitch, but they were just doing some compliance paperwork. And it's just a load of nonsense. If you want any of this stuff, don't buy it from a franchise dealer. before you've shopped around yourself. They want to sell you this because they're making a big commission on it, probably because they've marked it up quite a lot. So always, always shop around. There you go. I'm like Martin Lewis with a nut allergy and patchy hair. New hydrogen fuel cell factory to open in the UK in 2024. The £80 million investment will give 𝗖𝗵𝘵 factory enough capacity for a 3 gigawatt output per year. UK-based catalytic converter and hydrogen technology specialist 𝗖𝗵𝘵 has announced that it will spend £80 million to build a new hydrogen fuel cell components factory in Royston near Cambridge. The plant will be repurposed from its current role making catalytic converters, will make the proton exchange membrane, often described as the heart of the fuel cell stack. While cars are generally moving in the direction of battery electric in their shift to zero tailpipe emissions, heavier vehicles such as trucks are expected to pivot towards hydrogen fuel cells. So they're saying this increase in production at this new plant will basically help to reduce the cost of fuel cell production because of economies of scale. It's all a bit complex, this, but the cost per kilowatt hour of a fuel cell, if that makes any sense, is about $266 at the moment for a hydrogen fuel cell. They're saying this is going to bring it down to about $120 per kilowatt hour. That compares to about $80 per kilowatt hour for a battery fuel cell. So they're bridging that gap massively. Amazon and Rivian begin the rollout of electric delivery vehicles. Two firms hope to produce 100,000 electric delivery vehicles by 2030 to decarbonise last mile logistics. The electric delivery vans, which Amazon says have been designed from the ground up with safety, sustainability and comfort in mind, are built in Illinois and reportedly have a range of between 120 and 150 miles. These vehicles will first be deployed in Baltimore, Chicago, Dallas, Kansas City, Nashville, Phoenix, San Diego, Seattle, and St. Louis, amongst other cities. The two firms hope to produce 100,000 of these vehicles by 2030. I did notice, by the way, that the Rivian share price has started to creep up in the last couple of days, so hopefully this has helped because they were struggling a bit. New EV incentives revive demand for company cars in the UK. Latest stats from the Department of Transport show that over half of electric vehicles are now company operated. It also shows that fleets now operate 40% fewer diesel vehicles than they did 2 years ago. Obviously, if you're a company car driver, you have to pay company car tax. It's a lot. I think most people on company car tax are paying anything between about £1,800 a year to about £6,000 a year. And lots of people are paying significantly more than that. With an EV, it's often a couple £100 a year. For a company car driver, it's a bit of a no-brainer to have an EV, depending on your mileage, of course, and depending on the sort of budget you get from your employer to get your company car with. Renault Megane exits the UK market after 27 years. French Ford Focus rival exits after 4 generations, leaving behind similarly sized Megane E-Tech EV. So it hasn't really, has it? The Megane E-Tech EV, it still says Megane, and they're just getting rid of the petrol and diesel ones, I guess. Hyundai working on sub €20,000 electric city cars, so that's about £17,000. It looks likely that it will probably replace the i10, and it will join 11 other electric vehicles that Hyundai plans to release on the continent by 2030. The city car will rival similar projects being undertaken by the Volkswagen Group, which will release them at around the same price under its VW, Skoda and Cupra brands. That's good. There's still a bit of a lack of affordable new EVs. So anything that comes to market that makes things a little bit more affordable for people. I guess the big news this week is that the new Honda Civic Type R has been revealed, and here it is. It looks slightly less ASBO than the previous version, and I quite like it. I don't mind the look of that at all. The interior is quite cool because they've modernised it, but it somehow still looks a little bit sort of 90s Honda, particularly around the gear shifter and this sort of central cluster. I think it's cool. I like that a lot. We know it's going to have a 2-litre petrol turbo, and we know it's going to be the most powerful Type R ever. Aside from that, we don't know too much just yet, but I'll give you more news as we get it. Right, check this thing out. The ELegend EL1, which is loosely based on an Audi Quattro. I think this is a glorious looking thing. That to me is 𝘼𝙁𝙁𝙁, as they would say in Bristol. I'm loving this thing. Look at that. Wow. Oh, that really is quite tasty. I'm getting carried away here, folks. We better get back to the story. Built in Bavaria, it gets carbon monocoque and CFRP panels, weighs 1700 kilos and packs a 90 kilowatt hour battery, produces somewhere in the region of 800 horsepower, 0 to 62 in 2.8 seconds with 249 miles of range. And the best thing is, it's going to be available for just £1 million. All new Nissan Micra to rival upcoming Renault 5 are on Auto Express now. The Nissan Micra Super Mini will be replaced with an all new electric model, and our exclusive image previews how it could look. So they think it's going to be something along these lines, which doesn't look entirely dissimilar to that new Renault 5, and it's certainly quite a cool looking thing, and I could imagine this being very, very popular, especially with the ladies. This is pure speculation that it's going to look like this, so I'm not going to go into any of the rest of it, but we'll give you updates on that as they come in. 2022 Nissan X-Trail debuts in Japan. UK X-Trail buyers will be offered the new hybrid technology from launch, and it will be the only powertrain option. Nissan's 𝗼𝗵𝅘𝅥𝅮 hybrid system blends a turbocharged 1.5 litre four-cylinder petrol engine with a compact battery pack and electric motor to deliver 184 brake horsepower and 330 newton meters of torque. It's a bit more complicated than the systems found in hybrids such as the Toyota Prius, because the petrol engine never drives the wheels directly. Instead, it acts as a generator topping up the battery pack, which then sends power to the electric motor. So that's a bit like the Honda system, I believe. More on that one to come, I'm sure. Aston Martin have got a new badge, and it looks exactly like the old one. End of story. So Porsche announces a 2023 software update to all Taycan models. Basically, this update is going to give you up to an extra 31 miles of range, depending on the model you've got. But it's not going to be delivered over the air, which seems a bit odd. You have to go into a dealership for it. But that is kind of a cool thing with some of these EVs. You know, the thing's sat on your drive, and the next day you've got more range and it goes a bit quicker. Folks, if you'd like to show your support for what I do here, firstly, like and subscribe. As I said, I really need you to subscribe, so please do that. And you can come onto the site here, you can buy me a coffee, you can visit the merch store, you can do a Readly trial, you can look at Surfshark. All these things help support what I do, and I desperately need it at the moment. I have to say, it is a very difficult time doing this for me at the moment, and I really need your support. Please go and watch last week's news video. I beg of you, that will really help things. I look forward to seeing you next week at 8:30. Lots of other content coming next week. We've got the review of the Ioniq 5 coming out next week, and another update on the Audi TT, and a couple of other little bits. Please keep watching the videos. My views of late have been absolutely tragic. The last few videos especially have been awful. So please try and watch as many of the videos as possible. They might not always be the exact thing you're looking for, but please just give them a little watch and see if it's something that takes your interest. Thanks ever so much. See you next week.